Hi, I'm Drew Price, the project manager of NASA's Robotics Alliance project, otherwise known as RAP.
Hey VEX Worlds, I'm Candace Campanelli, the project coordinator of RAP.
Congratulations for making it to the 2021 VEX Worlds. We're coming to you from the Clear Creek ISD Robotics Event Center. This place is amazing. In a few weeks, this venue will host the Space City Showcase competition for VEX-IQ and EDR teams, and we cannot wait to see the teams in action.
You guys have done a great job persevering through a challenging year. We're proud of what you have accomplished and can't wait to see your impressive robots throughout this live remote tournament. We're really excited to be here with you for the 2021 VEX Worlds.
NASA has been busy since the last time we were here with you. We've begun to send humans into space from American soil again, and we have sent astronauts to the International Space Station on SpaceX Crew Dragons. We launched the Mars 2020 mission in the summer with the Perseverance rover and Ingenuity helicopter landing earlier this year. Perseverance has begun to rove, and Ingenuity had its first flight a few weeks back. So inspiring. And we continue to work diligently to return humans to the surface of the moon and ultimately to Mars.
We're always looking for talented individuals. If you'd like to join us, please consider becoming a NASA intern. You can find more information about NASA internships at intern.nasa.gov. RAP is proud to support VEX and the Robotics Education and Competition Foundation, and we're super happy to support you and your team. We were also delighted to work with the RECF to develop the first RECF aerial drone competition, or RAD, which centers around a helicopter on Mars. Sound familiar? Shout out to Ingenuity.
Go Ingenuity! Good luck, and we look forward to you doing great things with NASA, for America, and for the world.
Welcome to the 2020-2021 game, VEX-IQ Challenge, Rise Above. There are 3 ways to play VEX-IQ Challenge, Rise Above.
First, 2 teams will collaborate in 60-second teamwork challenge matches, working together to maximize their score. Both teams will receive the same points.
Each of these teams will consist of 2 drivers and 1 robot. One driver will operate the robot for the first half of the match, and the other driver will operate it for the second half.
Second, each team will have the opportunity to compete in the Driving Skills Challenge. In these matches, teams have 60 seconds of driver-controlled time to score as many points as possible.
Third, each team will also have the opportunity to play Programming Skills Challenge matches in which they have 60 seconds of autonomous robot operation to score points, no drivers allowed.
Scores from the Driving and Programming Skills Challenges will be combined to determine a Robot Skills Challenge champion.
VEX-IQ Challenge Rise Above is played on the new, wider field, measuring 6 feet by 8 feet.
Robots and game objects start on the field in predetermined positions, and there are 9 goals located around the field.
Be sure to double-check the robot size rules this year, as they may not be the same as previous VEX-IQ Challenge games.
The scoring objects are risers, with a height of approximately 8.75 inches and a width of approximately 7 inches. There are a total of 27 risers on the field.
The object of the game is to score as many points as possible with your alliance partner by scoring risers in goals and completing rows.
Each riser scored inside of a goal is worth 1 point. Each riser stacked on top is worth 1 additional point.
If teams score 3 risers of the same color in a row, they will have a completed row and will earn an additional 3 points.
If teams can stack 3 risers in the same goal, and that goal is part of a completed row, they will have a completed stack and will earn an additional 30 points.
Teams will have to experiment with different scoring configurations to figure out the most efficient way to score points.
For official game rules and robot requirements for VEX-IQ Challenge Rise Above, please see the game manual found at roboticseducation.org and vexiq.com.
To register a team, find events near you, or ask a question on the official Q&A, please visit robotevents.com. Good luck and have a great season.
Hello, teams. Allow me to introduce the chairman of the Game Design Committee, Mr. Grant Cox.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from out there in the VEX Nation. My name is Grant Cox, and I am so excited to be the first to welcome you all to VEX Worlds 2021. We're kicking things off today with the team and drivers meeting. This meeting is just designed to give you guys an opportunity to hear some quick notes from us about some of the logistical details and some of the rules clarifications for how we're going to be handling things here at the VEX Robotics World Championship. I have some notes that are prepared up front that are all basically based upon the VEX World's game manual update that came out last week. And then following that, we'll be taking some live questions and answers. So if you have those questions, please be sure to drop them in the YouTube chat below. I want to answer as many questions as possible. So without further ado, let's kick it off with the very first rule in the game manual, G1. This rule is a long rule, but it's a very important rule. It's the rule that is the cornerstone of our entire robotics ecosystem. It's very simple. Treat everyone with respect. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a team member or an alliance partner or a coach or a staff member or a volunteer or a GDC chairman. Everybody you'll interact with in this competition has put in tons of time and energy towards creating what you see all around you. The robots, the event, the production, and this is your time to shine. This is your opportunity to show us what you've done. And it doesn't matter if your robot arm falls off halfway through the match, or you run the wrong program during the programming skills routine, or if you disagree with the head ref's call. It doesn't matter that these situations come up. All that matters is how you approach them. And if you approach them calmly and patiently and respectfully, that will go a long way towards having an enjoyable event for all of us. Next up is the second rule in the game manual, G2. VEX IQ Challenge is a student-centered program. Say it with me, kids. I built this robot. One more time. I built this robot. Adults, we know you can program robots. We know you can snap together IQ parts and build something really cool. If you want to compete in robotics, go do combat robots or something. This is the students' time to shine. And that applies to all aspects of the VEX IQ Challenge. Yes, the obvious ones, like the students should be ones doing the programming, but also some of the less obvious ones, such as sideline coaching during matches. If this were in-person worlds or at a local event, a lot of the adults are in a stands that are way far away from the students, and you don't get the chance to be 5 feet away from your students giving step-by-step coaching directions. So please be mindful of that at this event. We will be taking a hard line on watching for too heavy-handed of adult interactions, such as heavy-handed sideline coaching, adults setting up the robots, adults, fixing programs. So please give your students the chance to shine amongst their peers. Now we'll get into some of the robot and field notes. Robot inspection is going on right now. Hopefully about half of you have been inspected by this point. Hopefully the other half will get going after this broadcast is over. Robot and field inspection is mandatory. All of you have done your 2 live remote tournaments leading up to this event, so you should be pretty used to this. But inspection will be going over both your robot and the field. Because at an in-person event, where you'd be just bringing your robot, at a live remote tournament, you're bringing both your robot and your field. So the inspectors are going to want to see both, along with your webcam, along with your computer setup, everything that you're going to be using to run those matches. This inspection is mandatory. There is no exceptions or allowances. That being said, passing inspection is just the first step. Once you've passed inspection and you're ready to play, you still need to be ready to demonstrate any of those inspection items during the event. Because your robot may have been in size during inspection, but if you bring an out-of-size robot to the field for a match, the head referee might ask you to resize it, just as one example. So for whatever sizing tool you're using in inspection, make sure you have that on hand. This could also apply to double-checking the number of motors or double-checking the parts that you're using. So if a head referee does pause before your match starts and ask for one of these things, it's just because we want to make sure that we're clear and all teams are getting a fair chance to participate. Moving on with some other robot and field inspection notes. Hopefully you all had a chance to see the VEX World's game manual update that was released last week. One of the items that we touched on in this game manual update is that we are going to be pretty flexible about Alliance Station positions at VEX Worlds. Put simply, drivers are free to stand wherever around the field that they would like, provided that it's safe, comfortable for the teams, and most importantly, not blocking the view of the webcam. However, just because we're being flexible on this doesn't mean that all other parts of LRT2, as well as the G rules, which pertain to drivers and drive team members, don't still apply. So that means that during that match, those 2 drivers are the only ones permitted to be coaching each other or interacting with the robot. I really want to see all the smiling faces of all 6 to 10 people on your team and parents and whatnot, but maybe from a few feet back from the field. That's all. If you do have two drivers that are participating, remember, they have to change the controller, or they have to hand off the controller about halfway through the match. Again, your MCs and head referees will be helping to remind you of this, but it's just the same as a normal tournament. One thing that's very important, because we have so many teams competing here and so many matches being played, we want to make sure that the scores are getting entered quickly and accurately. So immediately following each match, the live remote tournament scorekeepers will be confirming your score with you. So teams, make sure you're following along with the risers as they go into their goals, and make sure you're watching the live remote tournament interface to make sure that you agree with what the scorekeepers have entered. There will be a ready check process that your division MCs will go through with you. But basically, don't click that ready check button or confirm your scores until you have looked at the scores that have been entered and make sure that you agree with them. If later on during the tournament, you realize that maybe there was an error that was entered, we are trying something new this year at VEX Worlds, where we are going to allow teams up to twice during the event to submit a scoring challenge or a scoring review request. If you do decide that you would like to do this, you will need to find the webcast archive of your match on YouTube and then get in touch with your division manager via the live remote tournament chat. They will have a process and a form for you to fill out. Again, this challenge process is only if you think that a score has been entered incorrectly. All other disputes, such as match replay requests or starting position questions, things like that, must be handled with your head referee at the time of the match as per the tournament section of the game manual. Hopefully you all have had a chance to see the agenda many times already. I've got it up here. I'm not going to read through it. Make sure you check it out if you haven't already. But most importantly, please arrive to your matches early and ready to play. Just like at an in-person event, we would usually recommend that teams arrive to their matches like 15 to 30 minutes early. For a live remote tournament, we want to make sure you're getting there early, plenty early, so that you can make sure that your webcam is connected, your internet is connected, your robot battery is charged, your risers are in their correct position. We have so many matches to get through, and I want to make sure that you all are having a quick, efficient, and productive experience. Now let's take a minute to talk about how this tournament is going to be structured. You have all been split up into subdivisions within your given grade levels, elementary school or middle school. Within that subdivision, you're going to play through a standard set of qualification matches and a standard set of playoff finals matches, just like at any other tournament. At VEX Worlds, those subdivision playoffs are going to consist of 10 alliances, so 20 teams. Once those 8 subdivision champions have been determined in each grade level, they will all then move on to an overall set of finals matches, which will be a standard set of finals matches for those 8 teams from each grade levels. For more information about how these teams will be ranked and ordered for those overall finals, please make sure to refer to the VEX Worlds Game Manual update. Now, for the other half of you all who are participating in our live remote skills divisions, you'll be participating in a pretty straightforward skills challenge tournament. Each team will get 3 chances to run their driver skills runs and 3 chances to run their programming skills runs. Those divisions will then be ranked according to the standard tiebreakers that are in the game manual, and the overall winners from each division will have their runs highlighted during the overall finals on Saturday evening. Finally, just some miscellaneous housekeeping notes. Periodically throughout the event, your MCs will ask you to do a ready check. For those of you who have done a live remote tournament before, you're familiar with this interface. It's a check mark, that icon that appears, and they ask you to confirm it. When they're doing this, it's because they either want you to confirm a score or confirm that your robot is set up correctly or something of that nature. When you see this marker appear, please don't click it until you are actually ready. We want to make sure that we don't start any matches with students still standing on the field or anything like that. The other thing too, for those of you who are going through inspection today, this is a great time to test not just your robot and field setup, but also your internet connection, your webcam setup, all that fun stuff. We want to make sure that everybody has full connections and as good a video quality as possible for this world stage tournament. And last but most certainly not least, y'all, this is VEX Worlds. I know it's going to be intense. I know it's going to be hard at times. I know you're under a lot of pressure, but please, please, please have some fun out there. I want to see costumes. I want to see dances. I want to see spirit. I want to know which division is going to bring the most excitement to this event. So with that all being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm now going to throw it to future Grant, who's going to be waiting with some live Q&A. So if you have any questions, please use the YouTube chat below. Drop those questions in there, and I'll take about 20 minutes of live questions and answers. Following that, Brad and Tyler will be back with just some quick notes about what to expect at Live Remote VEX Worlds 21. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in a bit. Good morning, afternoon, evening. You heard the whole speech. Thank you so much, previous Grant. Hi, it's me again, and I am so excited to be taking some of your live question and answers in today's team and drivers meeting. So again, I have some people here in the studio helping me out, monitoring the chat in the YouTube comments below, as well as helping me with answering the questions. You know, some other GDC members are here as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first couple questions were actually pre-submitted ahead of time. Teams can email gdc@vex.com before the event to request these questions. There was several teams who requested questions about how one driver teams versus two driver teams are being handled at this event. So as we all remember, rule G7 in the game manual is the rule that covers the driver's controller switching during the event. Due to social distancing practices and local guidelines, local school guidelines at, throughout the course of this season, we did make an exception this season only that teams who are unable to have multiple students in the same physical location would be permitted to have one driver on their team, one driver for the match. If that was the case, then that one driver does not need to switch controllers halfway through. However, if you do have two drivers participating, you do have to do the controller switch. It's not like an option. It really was intended more as just a exception for those very extreme cases where teams were unable to have multiple students in the same physical location. It is stated that sideline coaching from adults or other students is strictly prohibited. Does this include teammates of the person driving? Yeah, so this is it's a good question. Lots of questions pertaining to how the sideline coaching thing is going to work, and I kind of mentioned it in the pre-recorded bit as well. Again, the intent of the game, the intent of the VEX IQ Challenge is for those two drivers to show us what they've got with their robot on the field. I understand you probably have teammates around the field. I understand you probably have parents in the room, coaches, teachers, etc. It's really going to be, we want to see those two students perform. The head refs will be kind of monitoring to see if there is, really intense, hand gestures going or, step-by-step instructions. But at the end of the day, we're not going to say, like, you can't cheer your kids on, right? Or you can't, have your friends in the room, counting down 3, 2, 1, that's the end of the match, stuff like that. So it is going to be a little bit of head referees working with you all in your divisions and just monitoring for non-student centered type activities. If there are two drivers, do both drivers need to be in the same station position? No, not necessarily. Like I said in the video, we are going to be pretty flexible with alliance stations or driver stations, excuse me. In fact, one of the world champion teams from the VEX Robotics competition that just wrapped up yesterday did have both their drivers stand on opposite sides of the field for most of their matches. So yeah, totally fine. Can you move around driver stations during the match? Yes, LRT2, G8, the Worlds update. Again, we're just being pretty flexible on that. The most important thing with moving around during a match, though, is make sure that A, the head ref can see who the two drivers are, right? We can't have 8 people crowding around the field. And then B, make sure you're not blocking the view of the webcam. The refs need to be able to see all of the risers and all the goals and of course the robot, in order to score you correctly. What do I do if my video quality is not great? Is there anything we can do to help with the scorekeeping process? Thank you to whoever asked this. Excuse me. As I mentioned in the video, hopefully teams are getting a chance during inspection this is your first experience, working with the on-site team here during this event. Obviously, we've all done our LRT events prior to this, but if you are realizing that you're a team that for whatever reason, maybe your IT department's having some issues with the network, maybe you're running off of a home hotspot, what have you. There's a couple different things we can recommend. The first is we do have tech support on-site, customer service ready to answer your questions throughout the event. That number is, I'm going to get you that number in just a second. Lisa, if you could give me that number. So you can give a call to our tech support at any point during the event, and they will walk you through some tips like, are you using Wi-Fi? Are you using a wired connection? Are you running any other extensions in your Chrome browser? Things like that. If If you're still just not getting it, what you can do is a couple things. You are welcome to record your videos, or take videos of your matches, like with a cell phone or a separate computer not involved with the LRT system, that we may request of you if we lose your video halfway through the match or something like that, right? This should be rare. I think we only had to, during the VRC portion, we only requested videos like once or twice or from one team. So it should be very rare, but that option is available. Another thing that was very helpful during the VRC portion of the event is if you are a team that you know has kind of a stuttery internet connection, speak out loud as you're driving around. The other teams can see the event chat. They can hear, depending on if you have your mic on and everything, they can hear you talking. So you can actually say out loud, hey, orange riser in goal A, teal riser in goal B, and that can kind of help as things go. In general, though, just please work with your division manager and your head referee in those situations. When doing the programming skills, do we need to walk around the field or can we walk on the field? Please don't walk on your fields. No, so RSC 7, rule RSC 7, Part D, Part I, does specifically state that during the programming skills match, you must walk around the field. If you walk on, in fact, I think there's actually a G rule that also mentions reaching in or walking on the field. That would be explicitly prohibited. Are we allowed to reset the robot in a starting position during a program? Yes, so definitely please check out the manual. In programming skills, this is covered by rule RSC 7. There have been also a few Q&As that talk about what to do in this scenario. In driver mode, or in the teamwork challenge, LRT, rule G7 is what covers that scenario. It should be very rare. Basically, if your robot explodes, if your arm falls off, if the wheels start rolling across the field, you do have the permission to reach in and kind of reset it, and there's a process that you have to go through. However, you can't do that strategically in a teamwork challenge match. Again, rule RSC 7, rule G17, and ask your head referee if you have any more clarifying questions there. What if our teammate is monitoring the chat or the opponent's screen? Can they tell the driver how the other team is doing and what they might have messed up on? Aw, you should be telling them what they did excellently and how incredibly you're going to be working well together. Again, definitely check out rule LRT2 in the game manual, which explicitly covers what is and is not permitted in these scenarios. And if there's a specific situation that you're unclear on, again, check with your head referee during the match. Because this is one of those cases where it's very situational. I can't sit up here and explain every possible communication that you could ever have with your partner or a teammate or whatnot. So that rule is what covers what is or is not generally accepted, and then your head referee can handle specific circumstances. During programming skills, can you stop the robot during the programming run? Yes, yeah, this is the same question as I answered before. Just please review rule RSC 7. Where can we test the webcam setup and internet? Excellent question. So there's two ways. First is during inspection, which in the video I said I hope about 50% of teams have inspected. When I left inspection to come over here, we were at about 60% for LRT. So definitely a lot of teams coming through. So inspection is really your first main opportunity. There is also a practice environment that you can use. And again, working with our tech support, they will help you walk through that process. Speaking of tech support, I do have that number now. Go ahead and write it down, 903-401-8088. At the end of this broadcast, Brad and Tyler will also be talking about the tech support options you have available. But that number is 903-401-8088. And we're in the US, country code 1. How many matches are we getting in LRT? How many matches will be dropped? Okay, good question. This was entirely dependent on how many registrations we got, how many teams are coming through inspection and so forth. So right now, the plan is for all teams in LRT to get one practice match. Well, that one will happen. That's not a tentative plan. That will happen. Every team will get one practice match at the beginning of your schedule. And then we're hoping for about 7 matches per team, which would mean 1 gets dropped. And again, the drop match is a standard process that's found in the game manual. It's your lowest score. It's dependent on how many matches you get. Just check out the tournament section if you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so the goal is to get about 7 matches per team. The final match schedule will be released as soon as inspections are completed this evening. No later than tomorrow morning. When do LRT and LRS matches start? So yep, check out the agenda. It's on vexworlds.com. It's also probably been emailed to you. It's probably also all over the place. Brad and Tyler are probably going to also talk about it after this. Yeah, but in general, tomorrow is when matches start for elementary school. Elementary school will play their matches Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then middle school will start on Thursday. Middle school will play their matches Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Saturday evening, we will have our overall finals, where the division champions from both middle school and elementary school will play one last playoff round to determine our world champion. And that's when we're going to find out what the new game is for next year. Can we choose our alliance partners? Note, please review T13 as well as just the general tournament section of the game manual. In VEX IQ Challenge, the alliances for playoffs are predetermined based on the rankings at the end of qualification matches. In LRT live remote tournaments, what happens if 2 teams put a riser on the same goal? Okay, so please review the LRT portion of the game manual, which goes over these types of scoring scenarios in detail. The easiest way to think about LRT scoring, and I know it's a little bit different than we typically do, but the easiest way to think about LRT scoring is that if you had, one second. Sweet props. All right, so if you had this, which is your field, and this, which is your partner's field, at the end of the match, stack those 2 fields on top of each other and combine them. That is how you handle scoring in LRT. So if 2 teams put a riser in the same goal, that is effectively the same as having 2 risers in that goal. Sorry, camera crew. Do we use the computer's built-in camera or a separate web camera during the competition? Good question. Thank you for asking. In live remote tournaments, this is one of the questions that's being asked during inspection. You are required to have an external webcam. That's what works best with the LRT system. In LRS, if you're doing our skills competitions, it's a little bit less restrictive. You can use either way. It's fine. And if you have questions about whether your webcam is acceptable or not, again, in inspection, work with your inspector to ask, or once you get to the matches, work with your division manager. For live remote skills, if we have 2 people on the team, can they drive separate for social distancing purposes? I'm not 100% sure what this question is asking, so I will try to answer all of the possible ways I could interpret it. So if you have 2 people that are driving and they need to controller switch, so you are not restricted to the same spot around the field. Like you could have one person on one side of the field, one person on the other side of the field. They would still have to controller handoff at 30 seconds. You would need to use the same controller. We did not make an exception for having 2 controllers paired to the same robot, which I don't think is actually even really possible in the current firmware. If there is, I'm trying to think of what I was going to say for the third. Oh yeah. If you're asking about changing drivers in between matches, like in match A, you want Jimmy and Kimmy to drive, and then in match B, you want Bobby and Robbie to drive, that's totally fine. Sorry, I don't know. That's totally fine. So hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, please go ahead and re-ask it, or rephrase it, and I'd be happy to answer. Are the drivers allowed to talk to other teammates during matches? Yes. I believe this is also LRT2. Yeah, I believe this is also LRT2. Yeah, communication with alliance partners drivers is not considered a violation of this rules. Yeah, so in the VRC matches, which happened last week, we had alliance partners. Sometimes they would like cell phone call each other. That's how humans speak, cell phone call each other. Sometimes they would set up like a private Zoom call with each other, things like that. We are permitting that. Typically that would be a little bit not permissible, but we are being flexible about that with these remote gameplay situations. Can a teammate monitoring the video shout out where the other team placed the element so we can make sure we need to place a riser to make a row? Yes, so this is kind of part of that flexible nature of what I was mentioning earlier about participation from other members of your team. We understand that sometimes because of school setups or actually half these teams are playing in your living rooms, which is awesome. But sometimes your laptop, which is showing the other feed, might be like all the way over here and the teams are driving all the way over here. That type of communication to kind of keep your drivers updated on what their partners are doing is pretty fine. Yeah, that would be fine. Lose my place. Can we have, yeah, we talked about that one. If our alliance put 3 risers of a certain color and we put 1 in the same position, what will happen? Yeah, so this is LRT4, as well as, you know, what would have happened in a normal match if you were to stack 4 risers in the same goal. Max of 3 risers in a goal. So anything above 3 risers in a goal will not count as scored. All right, can you confirm that there is no programming in LRT? Yeah, live remote tournaments are driver controlled. That is the intent. However, there is no restriction from, you know, if you want to program a button to complete a certain task, you know, press this button to raise the arm and score that thing, that's totally fine. All right, I think we're going to take about 3 more questions, and we're coming right up on time. These have been awesome questions, y'all. So let me take a look at the ones that are already in here. Do 3. Yeah. Actually, this is a half question. Do all the rules in LRT apply to LRS? If you have a specific one, talk to your head ref. Yeah, can you? I've answered those ones. Okay, this is a good one. Have morning and afternoon tournaments been combined? It appears that way in the tournaments listed in the REC tournament schedule. No, so the agenda is kind of the overarching agenda. You are still in whichever AM or PM subdivision that you register for / were assigned to. It may appear that those sessions may have been combined, depending on where you look in robot events and things like that. But that was just due to some back end finagling in our side to make sure that the events are going to work properly. So if you registered for AM because you have certain time conflicts or requirements, then you will be in AM. So if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We can help you out. But in general, that should be all up to par. And then this will be my last question. Can you still score while the buzzer is going off at the end of the run? All right, so where's my manual? This is kind of handled the same way as it would be at an in-person tournament, which I'm trying to find the exact rule. So at an in-person tournament, basically the intent of the game is for you to have 60 seconds to play your match. At the end of the match, you place your controller down. All scores are final once all objects have come to rest and all robots have stopped moving. And I'm just trying to stall while I'm looking for this rule. Goodness me. Oh, it's the definition of match. Thank you, Lisa. I want to make sure I phrase this one correctly. That's why I'm taking my time. So apologies to y'all. Yeah. So the definition of match is that the driver control period 60 seconds long. With the controller switch and whatnot. The definition of match, and this has been, the reason I wanted to phrase this very particularly is because this has been asked in the Q&A a couple times. It is not necessarily tied to a sound or a bell or, what have you. It is 60 seconds. And so it is kind of going to be on the teams and on the head refs to watch for that end point. We know, especially in a game like Rise Above, where you're trying to go for that last second score, in general, our guidelines for this event are all about giving the benefit of the doubt to the teams. So in general, if you're going for that last second score and you put it right up there and you back away, it's probably we're probably going to give it to you. However, benefit of the doubt, does have a tipping point at some point where, we have to unfortunately count a riser as not scored if it was visibly after the end of the match. So again, that is a very situational question. I wanted to answer it because I wanted to make sure that you understood the best way to avoid any conflicts or confusion is to make it abundantly clear when you are completed, a second before 60 seconds. All right, so that is all my questions. Wow, that 20 minutes flew by. I can't even believe it. Hopefully that was helpful for you all. If you continue to have more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your head ref or your division manager once you get into your divisions tomorrow or Thursday if you're in middle school. I cannot wait to see you all on the fields. This is where I would normally say good luck and I'll see you on the playing field. So instead I'll say good luck and I'll see you in your living rooms, garages, cul-de-sacs, classrooms, or wherever you may be playing. With that all said, Brad and Tyler, take me home.
Tyler, we made it to the first ever live remote VEX Worlds. What do we do next?
Brad, remain calm, and together we're going to get through this huge amount of information. First and foremost, have you downloaded the VEX Worlds app yet?
The one available at VEXWorlds.com? Of course I have.
Then you have your division lists, your inspection times, your live remote skills time slots.
Sure. But where is my LRT match list?
Your match list will be available tomorrow morning. Okay, now that we've talked about it, where can you find your VEX Worlds information?
The VEX Worlds app and VEXWorlds.com.
Don't forget that LRT teams can use their event chat, and all logged-in users can use the support chat in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen.
There's also a VEX World support number for LRS or LRT teams to call if they are encountering technical difficulties. That number is 903-401-8088. The REC Foundation is standing by to help you get your LRT team connected or answer questions about your LRS console. But before you call, please check our FAQs at VEXWorlds.com.
This has been a crazy year, and there are a ton of new things for teams to know. How does the REC Foundation expect teams to keep LRT and LRS straight?
Well, live remote skills teams have each been assigned a 1-hour period in which they are asked to complete all of their skills challenge runs. These assignments are in the app and available at VEXWorlds.com. Teams will log in to console.liveremoteskills.org at or before their assigned time and then indicate to our referee that they are ready to play. Live remote tournament teams will log in to remote.robotevents.com where they will have a match schedule that puts them in competition 3 to 4 times per morning or afternoon.
You can see match results and access skills challenge scores live from robotevents.com. Tune into our morning check-ins, afternoon recaps, opening ceremonies, and finals to learn about our award winners and see how this unbelievable competition unfolds.
I know that the entire staff at VEX Robotics and the REC Foundation are very excited to get this started, but I also know that there's a little nervousness along with that excitement. What is the number one thing that you think will make teams successful this year?
Honestly, patience. Our entire staff is standing by to make sure every team has a successful skills run and completes their scheduled LRT matches. If you have any questions, contact us. What's your number one suggestion for teams competing?
Well, outside of patience, my number one suggestion is be ready to play. Join the LRT system 15 minutes before your division is scheduled to start. LRS teams should log in to console.liveremoteskills.org 5 minutes prior to their scheduled time. Don't forget, this is just like an in-person world championship. You are responsible for everything related to your robots and your field. Make sure that your fields get reset quickly, and make sure that your robots are 100% ready to play.
Well, it's almost time for us to end this meeting and make our final preparations to begin the event tomorrow morning.
And it's about time. We haven't had a live VEX Robotics World Championship in over 740 days. I can feel the anticipation in the air, on the VEX forum, and throughout inspection.
Well said, Brad. Now that all that's left is to wish our competitors good luck.
Good luck, teams.